This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Radio Network, and across Europe on Radio X. My email address, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website, www.xzoneradio.com. By the way, for all the listeners around the world, we have made Season 1, that's the year 2015, Season 1 of the X-Zone TV show available to one and all with our compliments at www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Maggie Florio. And Maggie is the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. She's been the director since October 2013, and she's been a member of the group since 2003. Now, Rhode Island, beautiful place. It's known for so many things, but how haunted, Maggie, is Rhode Island?
For such a small place, it is very haunted. Rhode Island was settled by Roger Williams in the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first white settler, but of course we had indigenous tribes here, and it's extremely haunted.
What was it that prompted you to become a paranormal investigator, Maggie?
Well, I had always had an interest in the paranormal since I was a child. And I grew up in a house that had activity. I was also a big fan of a certain TV show that was a soap opera that had characters like witches and werewolves and vampires. Can you guess what the name of the show was?
No, I can't. Tell me.
It's Dark Shadows. I was a big fan of the show Dark Shadows back in the day, and also I happen to have certain abilities. So those three things really nurtured my interest in what back then was called the supernatural. It wasn't the paranormal. It was either supernatural or the occult. But, growing up, I experienced all kinds of different activities and all different apparitions and stuff. And I kind of, was also interested in music. And I understand you're a musician as well.
Yes, I am, yeah.
And so I also had an interest in music. And my interest in music came to the forefront. So the interest in the paranormal and stuff was always there, but it was kind of put on the back burner. And then going through life, going to college and playing in bands, and I was just very busy between rehearsals and performances and everything. It kind of got put on the back burner. And in December of 2002, my husband and I, of course, you get married and have children and, life goes on. Well, in 2002, December, my husband and I went to a Christmas party at one of the mansions here in Rhode Island. And I experienced, some very startling activity. And so when we got home from the party, and so did my husband, along with me, he also, saw stuff that, that was going on there. And when we got home, I went on the computer, and I was very curious to see if this place had a reputation. So I Googled Paranormal Groups Rhode Island, and it brought up the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group website.
Maggie, you and I have to take a break. Please stand by. Exo Nation.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair, featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlanding.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony, a greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Welcome back, everyone. Maggie Florio is our guest this hour. She's a paranormal investigator. She's also the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. And Maggie, what has been the most interesting investigation that you and the Paranormal Research Group that you're the director of have gone and done an investigation on? And what were your findings?
Well, most of the investigations we do are in private homes and businesses. However, we have investigated several historical properties that are open to the public. And the one that I think was the most interesting was the investigation of the Charles W. Morgan, which is the oldest remaining wooden whaling ship in the world, and it was docked in, and I believe it's docked. It's back in Mystic, Connecticut, at the Mystic Seaport. From the very first visit, we experienced, apparitions. And we got EVP, and it was just a very active place. We found that there were residual spirits there, which is just like a video playing over and over, just kind of imprinted in the wood of the ship. And we also had some intelligent spirits there that, would respond to us, and we, caught some EVP of them responding to us. But the claims were that, it's open to the public, tours, and we had a couple people write to us, send emails to us saying that they had seen a man smoking a pipe in the blubber room, which was the second level, below the main deck. And he was sitting on a barrel, working on a length of rope or a net or something. And these were two separate people from two different days, totally unrelated to one another. And at first they thought it was like a docent, someone who volunteered there, but they didn't have anyone like that at the seaport on board the ship. And second of all, they don't allow smoking on the ship. I mean, it's a wooden ship. So we were called in to investigate by the person that does the publicity for the seaport. And from the very first day that I went with the then director and founder of our group, Andy Laird, he was talking to the publicity person, and I went all the way below deck to see where we could set up cameras. And I turned towards the bow of the ship, and I saw a man there, and he was telling other men where to put these barrels, stowing them in the ship. And the name McKenna just like popped into my head, and then the whole vision was gone. So, and I went upstairs, and Andy was still talking to the publicity guy, and in the forecastle, I saw a man standing in the doorway, and he was motioning me to come inside the forecastle, and I'm like, well, what the heck, okay. So I went in there, and I asked him, what is your name? And he was dressed in like a seaman's garb. He had on work pants and a work shirt, and he was kind of unkempt looking. And he said, John Adams, and I just kind of laughed. I'm like, ha, like the president, very funny. And he kind of, got a little angry at me and just kind of disappeared. So I reported these sightings to Andy, and he had one of the researchers look it up. And they were, both of the people were verified. They were, they had records of all the people that were on the ship. They had all the ship records and everything, and they were able to verify that this man, McConnell, was indeed a supervisor of sorts. And then the other man, too, they were able to verify that he had been on board on a couple of the voyages. So it was very interesting from the outset that we had these spirits interacting with us. And it was, probably the most publicized of the cases that we ever worked on.
Isn't it rather strange that spirits, actually interact with investigators to the extent that these spirits interacted with you?
I think because I'm sensitive to spirits, that I have discernment of spirits, that, I am able to interact, whereas not every, I'm not saying I'm special or anything, but, I can pick up on them. But I think that, they had a message. I think they wanted us to know that they were there. They had appeared to tourists. There were tourists that were seeing them. One of the people that worked as a tour guide on the ship had a door slam on her. She had a tour group in one of the rooms, and the door slammed shut while they were in the room, and there was nobody else on board at the time. So it wasn't just the investigators that they were interacting with the tourists and the tour guides and the people in the seaport, so it wasn't just us. There's usually a reason why we're called in, and it's because the spirits are interacting with people.
So would you say that you're also a spiritual medium?
Yes, I would.
And when did you discover that you were a medium?
When I was 8, I saw my first spirit when I was 8, and I also had precognitive dreams, stuff like that. I didn't really know what it was called, but I knew I had these abilities. Later on in life, I found out what they were, but when I was a kid, I thought it was everybody had them. I thought it was normal.
Would you say that throughout your life you have found these abilities to be an asset or at times a bit of a pain in the butt?
Yes, I would. When I'm on an investigation, they come in handy. Even in my personal life too, I can pick things up that are helpful, and I can ask spirits for help. But sometimes it is a pain in the butt. Sometimes it's you have to learn to kind of shut it off.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard. I remember being awoken at night by someone yelling in my ear, "Hey!" Just like that, and after this happened a few times, I had to say, listen,
Yeah.
I need my rest. You can't be waking me up in the middle of the night, for no good reason, because I would sit up in bed and say, "What?" And I would think there was something happening, and there was nothing.
And of course, the adrenaline is going at this time, and you just can't fall right back to sleep.
Exactly. So, you got to set limits, and
Sure.
it's you got to learn to work with it. You really do.
What does your family think about the work that you do as a paranormal investigator?
Well, my sister thinks it's a bunch of hooey. Yeah, she does. She is a total skeptic. A total skeptic. Because she's never experienced anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which amazes me, because the house we lived in was like spook central. My father says he doesn't believe, but yet he'll turn around and tell me about experiences he's had. So, take that whatever way you want. My husband is wonderful. He's also a medium. He did not grow up with the ability like I did.
Mm-hmm.
He had open heart surgery 5 years ago.
Oh, God bless him.
And it was really rough. And I guess when they do the bypass, you're actually dead for a while. They take the heart like right out of you. And he had like a near-death experience. He had a vision and everything. And when he came back into his body, after that, he was able to, communicate with spirit. But he is more of a feeler, and I'm more of a seer. So, and he ended up joining our paranormal group, and so now he's part of the team.
You and I have to take our break with the news at the bottom of the...
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Maggie Florio is our special guest this hour. She's a paranormal investigator and a medium. She's also the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. And it's great having you with us, Maggie. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be available for us this hour. Interesting lady.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Let me ask you, are demons real, or are they a a figment of our imaginations?
No, I believe they're real.
Have you ever had to deal with one?
Yes. Yes, I have. Let me think. Well, the first time I had to deal with one was we were on a case, and it was very early on in in my career as a paranormal investigator, and I was with some other members of the group, and we were on the second floor of this place, and we had been up there for a while, and we had encountered the spirit of a little boy, and he had been, doing mischievous things like, playing with our hair and making noises and, communicating with us, using the meters and stuff, and we were getting cold spots and stuff. So, after a while, I guess he got bored with us and went away, and we decided to go downstairs where the rest of the group was. And I was the last one to go down the stairs, and as I was at the top of the stairs, the little boy came up to me, and I had a very clear vision of him. And I asked him, "What are you still doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, you should be going into the light and going to heaven. And he says, something like, he was poor and he was a servant and didn't deserve to go to heaven. And I said, everyone deserves to go to heaven, and especially children. Jesus loves children. Well, no sooner did I get the name of our Lord out of my mouth, when this I don't know what it was. I guess it was a demon. It wasn't human, and it was just pure evil. And I could just feel the hate coming right off it. And as soon as this thing showed up, the spirit of the little boy took off. And I just had to get away from this thing. So I went downstairs, and I got to the bottom of the stairs, and I felt so sick. I mean, sick to my stomach, sick, like nauseous, and it was horrible. It really was horrible. And I ended up leaving the investigation and not telling anyone about it because, again, it was very early on, and I wasn't really sure about what had just happened, and I just wanted to get out of there. And I wish I had told the director at the time, Andy, what had happened, because they the rest of the crew stayed well into the night, and they ended up having something thrown at them, and
my gosh,
Andy got hurt. Andy got hurt, not badly, but he got hurt. And when he told me what happened, I just felt so bad. And then I told him, and then I got yelled at, of course, for not saying anything. It was, it was a tough lesson to learn, but I really think that was a demon. And yeah, they are real, and I have encountered some since. I definitely believe in them.
What place does your religious beliefs play when you're doing an investigation? Let me rephrase the question. Is one's own religious beliefs important when doing a paranormal investigation?
I believe they are. I know a lot of investigators say, you should be objective and, not let your beliefs influence you. But how could you not? They're a part of you. It's what you were brought up with in many cases. It's actually, my involvement in the paranormal has strengthened my religious beliefs because I believe that, I'm a Christian.
Sure.
So I believe in life after death. and I have seen evidence of it. I have, captured voices. I have captured images in my photographs. I mean, there's proof of it. So, it's actually strengthened my beliefs. And, the way I protect myself when I go to an investigation is through prayer. And I realize not everyone does. I mean, I have friends who aren't Christian, and I respect their beliefs too. And I'm sure that their beliefs also influence what they do on an investigation. So I think it does play a big part. You can try and deny it,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to separate the two.
Have you ever encountered a non-human entity that wasn't demonic?
Yes,
Tell me about
I
that.
have, and this was really unusual. We had gone to a place called Purgatory Chasm, which is out in Massachusetts. I think it's in Sutton, Massachusetts, not too far from the Rhode Island state line. And what it is it's this big split in the earth where the glacial ice had come down and just made this big chasm, and there's all kinds of rock formations and stuff. It's a park. People go there. They have picnic areas and stuff, and they go climbing around in the split, and there's caves and stuff, and it's really cool. But I had heard that there was paranormal activity there, and so myself and my husband and another husband and wife team from the group, Don and Missy Paulin, we met up there, and we were walking around with our meters and stuff, and we also have some dowsing rods that we use. And the way we use the dowsing rods is, we just walk around with them, and they pointed straight out, and then if there's energy, they'll cross, and sometimes we'll ask yes or no questions, and we tell the spirits if the answer is yes, cross the rods. If it's no, just leave them. And we had encountered this spirit, so the rods had crossed, and so I stopped and started asking questions, and there had been some suicides there. There had been some accidental deaths. So I'm asking questions, did you commit suicide? Did you fall? And all the answers were no. And then, I was racking my brain trying to think, what could this spirit be? And finally I said, are you from the earth? And the response was yes. And I said, oh, so you're a spirit of nature. So, and again, the rods crossed in the affirmative. And so it was what they call an elemental spirit, a nature spirit, if you will. And that was, from the earth, from the rocks. And it was pretty weird, that this spirit was able to communicate with me.
Well, when you say from the rocks, do you mean to say that rocks have spirits?
Well, the earth, the elements. They're the foundation of life. So why shouldn't they have life? They provide nourishment, and they provide life for insects and all kinds of living plants and all kinds of living things. So yeah, why shouldn't they have like an energy to them that's intelligent and can communicate? Yeah, I know it sounds really far out, but
Well, yeah, because I've never heard of rocks having spirits before.
well, I don't know if it was like from the rock, but it was from the earth, and there were
I
like
get it.
lots
Okay,
of
right.
rocks around. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Yeah. Now I do. Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was what most people would call an elemental.
How about other types of life forces that inhabit the earth? Like we've heard about fairies, we've heard about elves, we've heard about leprechauns, we've heard about the wee people. Have you ever seen or have you ever heard of anyone having a sighting of a spirit of those type of entities?
A spirit of that type of entity?
Yes.
No, I haven't. But I'm sure it's happened. I mean, I've heard of people that have seen like fairies and those kind of spirits. They call them divas, but it's spelled D-E-V-A, not D-I-V-A, not like not like an operatic diva, but a nature spirit. Nature spirits are often called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it, might be Deva, but it's D-E-V-A, and they're natural spirits like the Green Man and, fairies and brownies and puckwudgies
Right.
and stuff like that. I know people have seen them, but I don't know if they've seen the spirits of those things.
Do you think that the life force of a spirit only lasts a certain amount of time, or are the spirits here forever?
Well, I believe, again, it goes back to my religious beliefs that life is eternal. And also, in science, they say matter cannot be destroyed. It just changes. So, I don't know if they stay here. I think, spirit can go wherever. Or, I know there's earthbound spirits that, cannot move on.
Sure.
That need help, and that's what a lot of paranormal investigators do, is to help move these spirits on and to help resolve things that keep them here. But no, I don't think spirit ever dies. I really don't.
The reason I'm asking you this question is because nobody has ever talked about seeing the ghost of a Neanderthal or a caveman or anything pre a certain time in our history. And if spirits never die, if the energy doesn't dissipate, how come the sightings of spirits are only going back 100, 200 years, 300 years, and not longer than that?
That's a good question. Maybe we're just not looking in the right places.
Where would you have to look?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've certainly seen evidence of them in cave paintings and, found their tools and
Exactly.
their bones and their remains and stuff.
So we know they were real.
So maybe their spirits have just moved elsewhere, like where we can't see them. Maybe they've moved to a different dimension.
But that doesn't make sense.
Maybe they're not.
That doesn't
What do you mean?
Well, because what we're doing is we're looking for an excuse why a certain part of history isn't following the same rules of physics that we apply to the current, let's say, 300-year ghosts that people keep on seeing and talking about.
Right.
That's why it doesn't make sense. Like, I've had people on the show who've said they've seen ghosts of horses, dogs, cats.
Yes.
But I've never had anybody come on the show and tell me that they've seen a ghost of a dinosaur or of a chimpanzee or there doesn't seem to be any consistency in the sightings. I just find that rather strange.
True.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they? But maybe they just go someplace else. I don't know.
But you see, if they went somewhere else, so would these ghosts. They wouldn't need to be aimed towards the light or be told it's all right to proceed. You don't have to stay around here anymore. It would be innate in each and every one of us that this is what we do when we leave.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair, featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlanding.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Maggie Florio is our guest. And Maggie, what is a spirit rescue and how is it used during a paranormal investigation?
Spirit rescue is a process by which a spirit is moved into the light or to the other side, or however you want to say it. They're moved on, and this is done many ways. Some people do it through prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do it through like visualization, intent, faith, using love. Some people use candles when they do it, crystals. Some people burn incense, but it's just a process of moving a spirit into the light so they can go where they need to go, so that they're no longer stuck in a place or earthbound, as we say. And a lot of paranormal groups will bring in a medium to do this, or someone that does what they call cleansing, cleansing a house or clearing energy. It's just moving the spirits on. And I believe that, if there is a spirit that is troublesome and, the homeowner or the property owner wants that spirit moved on, they can't seem to live in harmony, or if the spirit itself indicates that it wants to move on, then a spirit rescue should be done.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, and how does your group differ from other paranormal groups?
Well, a lot of paranormal groups rely, strictly on the instrumentation, the different equipment that they use to do an investigation, and they often will bring in, like I mentioned, a medium or a psychic or something, if they need to gather additional information that is, only attainable, using those kind of abilities. Whereas our group, we actually have several mediums. And ever since I've been a member of this group, we've always had people that had abilities to communicate with the other side. So we include them in our group. They're actual members. They're trained as investigators. You know, they're trained on all the equipment and everything. They're trained to do research, but they also are encouraged to use whatever abilities they have to gather information. So that in that way we differ from other groups.
Maggie, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you and the other members of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. Keep the great work up, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you.
Good night now, Maggie.
Good night.
Exo Nation, my guest this hour has been Maggie Florio. The group is the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. Their website is triprg.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/triprg. I'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. X Zone Nation, I love getting your emails, but I must say there are